All right, we're bringing the Pikes Peak into the Pikes Peak Hill Climb Experience Western Heritage Gallery Museum. Wow, how cool is this? Setting up a Pikes Peak with a legendary Pikes Peak. Hey, what's up everyone? It's Ducati Biker. We're here in Colorado Springs at the Heritage Museum of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, and we're here actually inside the museum. They've allowed me to bring the brand new 2022 Ducati Multistrada Pikes Peak in here. I told them I was coming here on behalf of the Multistrada and that I want to ride on the Pikes Peak and be one of the first, and also come here and pay tribute to Ducati and also all of its riders who actually rode the Multistradas and all different sorts of Ducatis on the Pikes Peaks. So we're here at the museum. We're going to go up and check out some of the Ducati heritage and also its history and everything Ducati has done on the Pikes Peak. And I just thought it'd be really cool to bring the new Pikes Peak in to also resemble some of the older model Pikes Peak. So we're here. We just got finished riding the Pikes Peak. All the locals told us to come by and check this out. There's so much information about the Pikes Peak history within here in the museum. They have like old racing flags. They have the Masters of the Mountain, the fastest times up on different vehicles, different classes. They've had rally cars, sports cars, motorcycles. So it's actually, it feels like it's an honor to be here. There's a lot of history going on here. I'm actually looking at some old horse wagons that probably went up the Pikes Peak, and it's funny because this is my new horse wagon, and it was definitely a lot faster going up the Pikes Peak than some of the vehicles will show that you'll see here today. Either way, follow me. We're gonna zoom up through the starting line and all through some different moments of history as I go through it, and check out the Ducati section. So, without further ado, let's see what all this looks like. Wow, beautiful. The first great drivers. That goes way back. We're not gonna go that deep into the history. We're just gonna take you for a nice, lovely tour. That way you guys have a point of view of what it's like, and also some of the crazy vehicles that they were riding here up throughout the Pikes Peak in Colorado. Lots of cool moments here. Lots of great history. They're showing at different times in the past where the starting line and finish lines were, what the cars were capable of going through and not capable of going through. As you could see, some of the vehicles that they were going up through the mountain for, not like how we have today in the technology, but those guys were really pushing it, which is really cool. This is a good example. This is some of the gear you'd probably be riding up the Pikes Peak back in the day. Unlike this, you probably have a nice flannel jacket or high school jacket that looks like. Wow, now we're going underneath a Porsche. Sorry, not a Porsche, a Ford. Let's just scratch that out. Cut. Wow, we're going underneath a Ford right here. This looks really cool. Climber in the mud. This is one of the first Ford Mustangs that are going up there. And now we're getting up to the bread and butter. We're in the motorcycle section here, which is the top of the Pikes Peak, which is really cool. I'm hearing some different TVDs and monitors and stuff like this. And just as you guys know, this is my first time walking up here, so I'm looking around, I'm giving you my live feedback and point of view. This is awesome right here. Wow, look at this Hyundai. This thing broke some sort of great record. Wow, there's snow. They're showing them going up a hill climb in the snow. We've encountered a little snow today, but it was on the side of the road, nowhere near on the road. But here we are. This is the Ducati section. This one right here pays tribute to Carlin Dunn and all the success that he's had on the Pikes Peak, and also with the Ducati Multistrada. They've put one of the Multistradas that he raced on and actually won here on the Pikes Peak. It is the 1200S Pikes Peak edition. This model right here is what inspired in the design to make some of the newer ones in the 1260S, and then after the 1260S came the V4 Pikes Peak. So it is really cool to have actually been on the mountain, ridden all the way up to the top of the Pikes Peak, come back down, and then come here to the museum to see all the different vehicles that they used before and also the different motorcycles, because I could only imagine what it'd be like ripping up the Pikes Peak on this 1200S Multistrada a few years back, because the technology has definitely advanced, but still the fastest bike on the mountain, Ducati right here. And this is so cool to come up on the second floor also to see, again, all the old vintage cars, but in this section, I would say wagons that made it up the Pikes Peak. So, but could only imagine what it'd be like riding up on a chariot or a very old school vehicle to go up over the Pikes Peak, especially if it was windy like it was today and raining or snowing. Yeah, no thanks. I take my chances with the Multistrada Pikes Peak V4. So another cool thing I want to mention and just express about everything I've learned about the Multistrada, and especially now riding the Pikes Peak on the Pikes Peak, is the history goes way, way back to dating to where they were testing different Ducatis on the Pikes Peak before making it actually into the hill climb races. And what I've found out in research is that they were bringing some of the first hypermotards up the Pikes Peak, even before the Multistradas were coming out. So they were testing Ducati hypermotards up the Pikes Peak, and that's what pretty much evolved into the Multistrada, which was just a bigger caliber hyperstrada or hypermotard, and then eventually ended up being this, that they started racing on this. So I think that's really cool because I have a lot of questions when people ask me about the Multistrada and comparing about the Hyper, and honestly the evolution here just proves it. The Multistradas went from being designed around the Hyper or the Hyperstrada and then just went gradually bigger into more sporty and better touring bikes, which is really cool. And I have here in my notes that I found out that one of the racers who used to race for Ducati USA and also on the Pikes Peak here, his name was Greg Tracy. Greg Tracy won and was the all-class winner in 2008 on a Hypermotard 1100S. So, Tracy Gregg won on a Hypermotard 1100S, and then it went up to the Multistradas, and then Carlin Dunn started making amazing records and winning many races, I think 4, 5, or 6 races. He's also known as the only rider to do the whole Pikes Peak hill climb under 10 minutes. So lots of respect to Carlin, lots of respect to Ducati and everything it has evolved through. But I just want to mention that I feel like all this has evolved from Ducati Hypermotards, and I'm super happy about it because I'm a Ducati Hypermotard rider, and everyone asks me why do I go to the Pikes Peak, and it's because the inspiration and everything it's evolved from in the history that's been proven here started with Hypermotards. So I had to get that off my chest. We're here, we're paying tribute to Ducati and all of its success on the Pikes Peak, as well as all of its riders. And I'm just really honored to be here, to be one of the first to ride the Pikes Peak and then have the Pikes Peak here in the museum. So let's go around for a little bit. I think there's a few other cool things to show you. Actually, come check this out. Rick Dean was riding some Triumphs. Now imagine riding one of these motorcycles flying up the Pikes Peak. And mind you not, the top of the whole mountain right now is paved. Back in the day, it wasn't paved. So most of the people who were racing or heritage racing back in the day, or most of these vehicles, they had to do dual services. I'm pretty sure when Greg Tracy took out the Hypermotard, he probably encountered some dirt. So that lets you know that that's why they chose the Hypermotard, because supermotos are Hypermotards. Ducati, they could tackle both on and off road, which evolved into the Multistrada. I'm going in circles again, but either way, I thought that was really cool to show some of the vintage motorcycles right there. But let's head on back down as we snake our way back down the Pikes Peak. This is pretty cool. I really like how this museum is set up, because if you look at the path that we're going through, it shows you like all little bits of history, like as if you were going through a mini Pikes Peak right here. So I think it's really cool. I'm already dizzy from going up and down the Pikes Peak. Can't tell you how many runs we did, but it was awesome. We got lots of great content. But again, this is really cool. I talked to Sarah here, one of the managers here at the Heritage Museum, and I told her how excited we were to come here for the first time at Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs at this museum with this new bike. So I hope you guys all love this video and appreciate it, because there was so much involved to get here, to be the first to be here, to ride in the conditions that we did, and also to get this bike in the time that we did, because as if you know, getting a Ducati nowadays is not very easy, especially the new ones. So very cool, and we're glad and happy to be here. Back down the Pikes Peak. That is just so cool. I can't imagine what it'd be like if I were able to ride the Pikes Peak like a little bit half dirt, at least the top part. I think that'd be super cool. I'm an all-terrain rider. That's why I love the hypermotards. That's why I love the Multistradas. This is also a really cool area too. It kind of shows like a little garage workbench area of like the tools and some of the motor parts that they had back on the day that they use on some of the vehicles. There's some exhausts, there's some headers, air intake. So I like how, obviously museums are about heritage, so I like how they have some of these parts here. This is cool too. These are some of the, I'm a huge helmet guy, always wear a helmet. I call it like my first face. And these are the helmets that they used back in the day. As you can see, were minimal, especially like these two. That's just like a leather cap that goes over your head. I can't imagine racing up the Pikes Peak with a leather cap just covering my head. But thank God for technology, evolution, good helmets, good brains. So that's what we have that too. But it's always cool to pay a tribute and see some of even the wrecked helmets and how they've survived by wearing this. So, and there's no one too. But this is a cool section as well. We're gonna go through like this little rock maze. Oh wow, it's a big wash machine of violence. Oh wow, 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 look at this. So they have had a model of a vehicle that actually crashed in the Pikes Peak. They have this video of it. Oh my God, I can't even, it's kind of hard to look at. But here's a vehicle, and this is what it looks like if you miss a corner in the Pikes Peak. And I'm sure many of you heard all the tragedies and the stories and also some of the pilots that have gone, but that's the risk of racing and pursuing our dreams and passion. So we salute them, and that's why we're here, to pay our respect and tribute to this beautiful museum and everyone who's been here racing. So that's, yeah, it's just a shock to see that, but moving on. Here's a nice little timeline of all the history and different events, everything that was really important within the Pikes Peak, from I don't see any wagons, but from like the first generation cars all the way back down forth to all the AAA races, automobiles. I see some Camaros there, some older Sportsters, there's a Toyota. And this is when, Sebastian Loeb in 2013, he took a Peugeot and got like, he made it under, 8 minutes and 13 seconds in 2013. That was very cool. Vaporizes the Pikes Peak records and becomes a founding member of the 8-minute driving club on a Peugeot T16 Pikes Peak limited edition. Very cool. I remember being like super young and seeing this, and I remember being like, one day I'll be at the Pikes Peak, and now we're here. So, very nice. And also a very beautiful museum too. So, on behalf of all that and everything we just did today, participating in Colorado Springs, going up to the Pikes Peak, having almost all the weather conditions. There was a little bit of snow up top, we had a lot of wind, it was raining yesterday, it came down, we're safe. I couldn't be any more grateful to have broken in the first few 100 miles on a Pikes Peak, riding it on the Pikes Peak. It's just kind of like a fairy tale story. I don't think I'm gonna realize all this stuff until we probably watch this video later, but I'm just super honored and grateful to be here, especially in this museum, to pay tribute to Ducati and all of its success and all of its racers, to have ridden the Pikes Peak on the Pikes Peak. It's settling down in me now. I'm gonna get lost for words in a second because we're wrapping this up, but it's just an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm super grateful for everyone who helped me make this happen. All my friends, my team, my family, Ducati USA, Multistrada. You guys have just been really, really cool, and I'm just really happy to help share the love and joy of Ducati motorcycles and all the different aspects and all the different racing categories, all in the different places around the world. So with that being said, before I forget more of what I'm about to say, we're gonna wrap it up here at the Heritage Museum at the Pikes Peak Hill Climb in Colorado Springs. Thank you everyone for participating, everyone who participated, and everyone watching this video. We got more cool Ducati stuff from me, whether it's a Pikes Peak or a Scrambler or a Street Fighter or a Panigale or maybe electric Ducati in the future, which I'm super excited about. Drop your comments below and we'll see what we could do. If not, write me a message on Instagram. I'm really active there. And thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon. And that's a wrap from the Pikes Peak Heritage Museum with the 2022 Ducati Multistrada V4S Pikes Peak and all the other beautiful bikes here in the history that goes along with it. So thank you guys, and see you soon.
Forget everything you know about the Multistrada.
Even though we're here with the Multistrada, oh my God.